Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we got Brandon.
Hello.
We're here to talk about games and things.
Yes, we are.
And what's on the agenda? Oh, you did play a lot this week.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got that. I played the same thing as last week, but I got more to say about it. Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom had its final trailer. Talk about that news. Ready to get into it?
Yep.
All right.
Would you like me to talk about the new stuff? Because I got some newer stuff here.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the new stuff, I guess.
All right, let's talk about Xdefiant.
Okay. Never heard of it before.
Yeah, no one did until this weekend, and then it became the most streamed game on Twitch out of nowhere. Really? Yes. Okay. So, Xdefiant is a new first-person shooter that many people are already calling the Call of Duty killer. The game that will take over Call of Duty's reigns, because Call of Duty has kind of killed itself currently, more or less. Xdefiant's a game made by Ubisoft that takes place in all of Ubisoft's universes. That is a first-person shooter similar to Call of Duty. But it takes places on maps that are like from The Division or Far Cry or stuff like that. So in other words, it's a Ubisoft cinematic universe first-person shooter where all the maps in the game take place from their other games. That sort of thing.
Okay, that's a cool idea.
It's actually very good. It is a little rough, but it's just a closed beta right now, and it goes until the 23rd. But the actual gameplay is there, and it's very good as a game. It's very fast-paced, a lot like original Call of Duties, like the ones you play on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, like your Modern Warfares, like the original ones, or like Black Ops and Black Ops 2, like those kind of games. It's got a very risk and reward sort of system, and it's good. It's actually very good. I wish I could play it on console because I've heard that's where like it shines, and I did play it on PC with a controller for a little bit, and on controller it just felt like right at home when I played it on controller. And I know that's kind of like a cardinal sin to be like, oh yeah, I played a PC game with a controller, but the auto aim, how they have on like consoles and everything, basically when you're using a controller you get auto aim even on the PC version. So when I was using it with auto aim, the auto aim felt and made the game feel similar to like a old Call of Duty game, and it actually felt very nice. Now they'll have to polish up the actual performance as well as like add more stuff, but like they're going in the right direction. Like, here's a few examples of things that you can do in this game that you can't do in modern Call of Duties. You can vote on maps. If you didn't know, voting on maps, which was a Call of Duty staple back in the Xbox 360 days and everything, is gone. They haven't had that since like those days, essentially. Also, there are a handful of maps on Call of Duty, as opposed to Xdefiant launched with 14 already, and it's just a closed beta. So, it's actually kind of impressive what they've already got there. What's going to really make or break it is its price, or if it is free to play, its monetization. And currently in the closed beta, there is a closed beta battle pass. It doesn't cost any money, but it does show that there could be a battle pass system in the future. I think if they handled this as well as they've handled games like Rainbow Six Siege, and they had like a team like that working on this, that this could be a really big hit. And I think it's actually a pretty decent first-person shooter for what it is right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I played like 2 or 3 hours of it. I played it until the servers started getting absolutely destroyed, because they were not expecting as many people to, give it a go as they did. And essentially like one big streamer Call of Duty person like was like, yeah, this is really fucking good. And then like everyone else was like, oh, I have to get into this. And then more and more people got into it and got into it and got into it and just overloaded the servers by the end of the night. And it was crazy. But it was a lot of fun from what I have played, and I do enjoy it. Each little character that you can play as has like individual abilities. So like, for instance, there's a fire bomber character, and they have this drone that they can send out that like covers the area directly in front of them with like a like a flamethrower sort of deal. So you can like attack your enemies when you get like that ability. There's a healer kind of character who can heal herself on the go. So you can heal yourself, or you can have like an overheal that's going on when you get like your quote unquote like ultimate like ability and stuff like that. And yeah, in general, the way you unlock guns is by playing with other guns and doing things like getting a kill with your standard weapon, then swapping to your secondary weapon to finish the kill off, that sort of thing. So old Call of Duty things are like the staple of how this game is made. It is essentially just a ripoff of old Call of Duty games, but it's good, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I played that for a bit, and I rather enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, I think it's, if Call of Duty's not doing it anymore, I mean, I think it's fair to move in on that territory and make something similar, really.
I feel like the problem with Call of Duty right now is they've gotten too complacent, and that's the problem with a lot of games right now, like in general. Like for as much shit as people give Fortnite, being like, oh, yeah, Fortnite's fucking garbage, this, that, and the other, like, oh, kids game, whatever. They constantly are evolving and changing their game to the point where like you may play that game one year and like the very next year it looks like a completely different fucking game. And that's one thing that I do have to like give like respect to when it comes to like Epic Games and that game in general, is they are constantly evolving and changing up the game. So maybe you don't like this season, maybe you'll like next season way better. Maybe the game turns into a first person shooter instead one season, which is rumored to be what the next season of Fortnite is. So like doing something like that really makes a game stand out, and if for the worse or for the better, it gives you something different to experience. Call of Duty's kind of been stuck and stagnant for the last like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years of being the exact same thing. And it just, they've gotten so complacent with that they just offer so little now when it comes to that game, because they know people will just buy it no matter what, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why people are so hopeful about the Microsoft acquisition. Because I don't think that I think people at least feel that they won't be tied to that yearly, Call of Duty tax, and maybe build something a little bit more substantial. I mean, we'll see. It's kind of hard to guess.
Or at the very least, they won't be paying for it yearly.
Yeah. Because there's lots of different ways that they could go with it. And honestly, I feel like with something like that, games as a service probably makes more sense than just reboot yearly.
And they have done that with like their battle royale mode, but their battle royale mode has even gotten bad now too, to the point where like people just don't care about it. Like with something like the Finals coming out, which is a new battle royale, like a Call of Duty hybrid sort of game. That one, like, people are really interested in that because, again, it's doing something different where it's kind of taking the Battlefield approach and everything will be destructible. Like, literally everything. Like, you can destroy parts of buildings to get inside and that sort of thing. And, that kind of, that's a way of changing up the scene there. So it's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Call of Duty is just doing the same thing. It's just like, yeah, we're Call of Duty, buy our game.
As they do. And as they have done for like the last 20 years. Oh yeah. Anyways, what else you got? What's new and exciting?
Hold on one second. Okay. So I also played Dark and Darker. This is the game I've talked about before, the whole Nexon thing and the whole basically being stamped out and like made to remove their game from the Steam services due to the fact that they claimed that when the person left that was working on a game like that at Nexon, they took their assets with them and like then they made this game, which is their own version of it. And as such, that would be them stealing property from Nexon and yada yada yada, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So Nexon decided to stamp out this game's existence on Steam. So the developers actually put out a Discord message over the weekend that was like, so we haven't been able to find a way to get our game back onto platforms, so we have to go a little bit old school. Below is a torrent link for our game. We are releasing this to everyone free of charge this weekend for the test. However, you'll have to download it via torrent instead. Here is a clean torrent that you can use to like download it. Here's a clean, downloader that you can use to be able to get everything the way it needs to be. And we've already set up our own servers. So once you install this, you can just make a fake name and make a fake password and immediately log into the servers and start playing.
Okay.
And that was essentially how they went about it. And me and Katie and my friend that goes by Too Faded ended up playing online. And what this game is another kind of shake up on the Battle Royale sort of genre, but it's not a Battle Royale at the same time. So there's a game that's called Tarkov. I don't know if you've heard of this game.
No.
Okay, so Tarkov is a very, very, very niche first-person shooter on PC. And essentially the way the game works is it's a management sim, but it's also a first-person survival shooter. When you start the game up, you have a character, and the character goes into what is known as the zone. And when you drop into the zone, what you want to do in said zone is to fill your loot bag up with as much stuff as possible. So hard drives, computer components, this, that, and the other, anything you can use to build your base of operations and to expand your character and expand other stuff outside of the main first-person shooter aspect of the game. But you have to go play the first-person shooter aspect of the game in order to do that. And essentially you go into the zone and you're scavenging through buildings and everything to try to find items. But while you're scavenging these buildings and places, there are two things happening. There are, I don't know if it's 20 or 50 or even 100, but there's a certain amount of other players just like yourself placed into this zone who are also trying to do the same thing. So it kind of becomes like a real multiplayer experience similar to The Last of Us, where everyone's trying to scavenge for everything and it's everyone for themselves. Or it's you and your team against everyone else for themselves. But on top of that, there's also extremely intelligent AI that are in there. So you'll be fighting AI to get to the items that you need to further base build and create the stuff that you need in that game. And while you're doing that, there are other players that are doing the exact same thing. So you're never really sure if you're fighting AI or if those are real players. And also, you fighting that AI can draw the attention of real players. So then you have to fight the AI as well as the real players at the same time to try to scavenge the items that you need for your loadout, to build new guns, to do this, that, and the other, and whatever you need for the game, essentially. It's very, very technical. It's a super niche game. It blew up on Twitch and all these other things. Lots of streamers play it, and it's a game where they wipe the servers every few months, essentially. So you have to start over from scratch. So no one's ever all powerful and has all the stuff and this, that, and the other. The game is very interesting. It's got a very neat idea. And so the people that made Dark and Darker decided to take that same idea but put it in a Dungeons and Dragons sort of scenario. So you're going into a dungeon in Dark and Darker, and you're scavenging for items and loot and this, that, and the other that you can sell to merchants and stuff and raise your level with NPCs in the game, outside the game. And when you go into the game, it's like a first-person survival game, but it's in a Dungeons and Dragons sort of deal where you're adventuring through this dungeon. And you're fighting skeletons, and you're fighting monsters and demons and this, that, and the other. But on top of that, you've got other players that may be playing as a rogue, a berserker, a fighter, what have you. And those people are also in that same dungeon with you, and you may run into them. And you may run into people that will help you and just give you some stuff and be kind and nice to you and not actually attack you. And then when you have those moments, you're like, okay, cool. Well, you will go about our merry ways. And that has happened to me a few times when I played this, but there's other times where it's oh shit, these guys are definitely going to kill me. And there's also other times where you don't have the potions or the stuff you need, so you have to be all right, I'm that guy that's going to kill the next group that I see. And I like showed you a video of it where I opened the door because I saw like I saw what I thought was a person clipping through the door. And when I opened the door, I see a guy. Me and him are just come face to face, looking at each other. And then my friend, who is Too Faded that I was telling you about, he steps behind us, and then I go through the door, and the guy's like focused on my friend, so I come up behind them and stab the guy in the back, and then kill him and take all of his shit and leave him there for dead. And we needed supplies at that point in time, so too bad for that guy. But yeah, that's kind of the way the game is. It plays similar to like Tarkov, like I mentioned, and it's really neat and it's a really interesting idea because of the fact that it's in that kind of Dungeons and Dragons, kind of fantasy realm instead of in a first-person shooter realm, and that makes it a lot more entertaining for several people, myself included, because I think it actually seems much more interesting when you're going about it that way. And that was what I played over the weekend during the playtest they had. I played like maybe 3 or 4 hours of it, and it was good. It was good. So, yeah.
The video you showed me looked really fun, honestly.
Yeah,
I know
it was
wasn't
really
that
fun.
much, but like
Yeah.
it was pretty exciting.
That was like one clip from like 4 hours of me playing it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, no, that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time you're just gonna get like absolutely demolished because when you die, then you've lost all of your stuff. So you essentially have to start over. The next time you go in. And if you get like killed when you're with your party, they could take your like soul stone, and then like if they find a revive area, they could put your soul on an altar and revive you and that sort of deal. And then you can get your stuff back by going back to your dead body and picking it up, similar to something like picking up your souls or whatever in like a Dark Souls game. But the way this works is you actually have to physically open up your like backpack that you dropped on the floor, search yourself, drag all your items back over to your now resurrected body and put them all back in your backpack and fucking take off before the damaging aura closes in on you. That's the reason why it's similar to a battle royale as well, because there's always something that's closing in from the outsides, pushing everyone to a designated area by the end of it. And when you get to the end of that floor, there'll be these openings. There'll be like a blue and a red. If you take the red opening, you go down to the next floor, which just makes the enemies much harder. And then whoever lived from the last game, obviously, they're going to be harder to defeat because they were strong enough to defeat every other player and the AI in that last floor. So they're a good player. So, or they just got out on blind luck. But either way, that happens. And you're going to have to be facing them now. So you'll be fighting the best of the best if you take the red portal. But if you take the blue portal just sends you back to the main menu with all of your loot that you've brought with you that you got to carry on your person. So sometimes there's moments where there's only like 2 blue portals and there's 3 people that you're playing with. So you have to make that decision which one of us 3 is going to go. And then like the ones that decide to stay behind will do stuff like drop their loot for the other players to put into their sacks so that they can like carry it on, and those players can like continue and have that loot, and they can make that decision then after they get out of the game. Do we go back in and risk it all so I can give this player back his loot, or do I just take this loot that he just gave me after like discussing with him in like a Discord call or what have you, and being like, hey, can I use this to level up my stats instead? And it's got that like social experience as well when you're playing it, which is really cool. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks really fun. I would try it.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that's not a lot of fun.
Okay. Which one of these 3 left?
Minecraft Legends.
Oh, Minecraft Legends.
Yeah, so this came out, and it's a real-time strategy game. I've only played
that's
about...
what it is?
It is a real-time strategy game, yes. I've only played about 2 hours of it, and supposedly the campaign that they have, quote-unquote, is only like 5 hours long, and it's just to teach you how to play it so that you can play against people like online like you would in something like StarCraft or what have you. And I don't know, man, it just feels really simple to the point where it can't be like enjoyable, like if it was in multiplayer. Like I haven't gone and tried the multiplayer, but it just feels so nothing. It feels kind of shallow. It feels like it was designed like, okay, so I don't know. Have you ever played Minecraft? I know that's a
No.
okay. All right. So Minecraft, it's made to be like a kids game, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. But it's really not. There's a lot of nuances to Minecraft. There's a lot of different ways you can build and a lot of different things you can do, and that's without even getting into the modding aspect of the game that makes it fun for like everyone. It doesn't feel like it's a kids game if you like play it,
Mhm.
even though it is, because there's a lot of stuff that you can do that's not generally like just kiddie. Like you can it doesn't feel like it's handholdy and like shitty. Minecraft Legends feels like it's handholdy and just like very streamlined to a point where it's kind of like, what's the point?
Mhm.
And I don't, I'm not happy with how it has turned out. I do want to put more into it because I've only put, like I said, like almost 2 hours in, or like 2 hours somewhere in there, and it's just I don't know. I mean, it's on Game Pass. I'm going to continue trying it. I'm going to try it with Katie because it's definitely built for co-op from the looks of it.
Mhm.
But it does not feel good to play. It feels similar to like, Pikmin, where you would like, create your things, but Pikmin, you pull them out of the ground and you have your horde with you, that sort of deal. But
Yeah.
instead of like throwing the horde, you're just kind of like pressing one button and being like, yeah, go that way and fight and there you go. And it's very similar to Pikmin, but like really easy, really really easy. And I don't
Oh.
know, I don't know. It feels like nothing. It feels like
Mhm.
nothing the game, and I do want to give it more time. But my first impression is this game is such a nothing. Like there's nothing to it, and it just doesn't matter. And I'm gonna try more. I'm gonna give it a fair shake, but
Mhm.
it's there's nothing. There's nothing there. So there you go.
Yeah. Sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you've put enough time into it where you'd kind of at least have a good idea if it's gonna offer you more depth.
Well, it keeps like teaching me things, but like the things that like it's teaching me, I'm just like, I, so I don't care. What's the
Hmm.
point? It's like
Yeah.
whatever. And I don't know. I just do not know.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you have time, try a little bit more. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm probably going. I told Katie I'd play some with her and we'd try it out together. So even though my first experience is just like meh, maybe it gets better and maybe it gets really better if there's like two people. We'll find out. I'll check back in with this one next week, but
Okay.
my current thoughts is nah, this ain't it. All right, moving on from that.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about the two best things I've played.
Even better
Uh,
than the other, like the Xdefiant and Dark and
oh yeah,
Darker.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So Vampire Survivors had its second DLC release.
Oh yeah, I know you're
Which
excited for this.
oh yeah, I was super excited for this, and I got to play it, and I've been unlocking characters and playing through the new stage, and I have just been having a blast again. Like I've
Hmm.
been every single time a new DLC comes out or any new stuff for Vampire Survivors come out. This game's still like just super addicting. I spent like maybe 6 hours straight just streaming this game, trying to figure out every little nuance for the new map, and I mean, it's just fun. It's so much fun. It's so hard to be like explain the reason why Vampire Survivors is fun
Hmm.
without like having someone actually play it themselves. So I'm just gonna say it was just a really good time, and I got so much enjoyment out of playing more Vampire Survivors, and I will always welcome more Vampire Survivors. And their DLC model is so good because like how much do you expect like 8 characters in an entirely new map and like 12 new weapons to cost you?
$20.
$1.99.
Oh wow, that's really good.
That's
I
been
almost
every
sarcastically said
DLC
10,
price.
so I
Huh?
feel like I almost sarcastically said 10, really.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, no,
that's
that's
it's like you get so much content out of $1.99, and then the game itself is only $5. So like it's not even $10 for everything in Vampire Survivors. Like the game is $3.99 right now, and every DLC is $179 right now. So like for less than $10, you get a experience that I have probably put. I don't even have to say probably. Let's see how much I've actually put into it. I put 70 hours into this game. And it's just it's always so fun to go back to.
Yeah,
So
not a
yeah,
number to scoff at, for sure.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about something I was wrong about before in the past, and this is when me and Nick talked about it too, and I've discovered the reason why I was wrong about this game. So
Okay.
my friend has been begging me, I
Mm-hmm.
mean begging me to play through everything to do with the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Is this the one that was like speed running it? Because I feel like that's a biased opinion.
What?
Is this your
Oh
friend that
no,
was speed running it?
no,
Okay.
no. This is one that sat down and played through the entirety of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And is even going through the DLC right now. And he's been begging me to play it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll play it. And he's like, oh, why don't you stream it for me? And I can see why you're not enjoying it, why you didn't enjoy it last time. So I decided to do that for him. And I have been playing every single time he's been watching it, and I've been streaming every single time he's been watching. And he's like giving me like tips and things and everything. And I have made the discovery that holy shit did I never play this game correctly. Like, ever.
Really?
Yes. So, even though this is a, an action RPG, one where it's like you can actually press the buttons and swing the sword,
Mm-hmm.
and this, that, and the other, and it feels similar to like, like a Devil May Cry or that sort of thing. Yeah, I should not be playing it that way at all, in any way whatsoever, because there's a lot more nuance to it in its battle system than I was giving it credit for. So he's taught me so much and showed me how to enjoy this game so much more that I am on chapter 15, and there are 18 chapters in this game, and I started replaying it a week ago.
Oh, wow. You must be
Yeah,
really into it.
it is very good. I play this like every single night. I've got 40 hours in the game now.
Mm-hmm.
I went from like I think 3 to 40. So
Was it your part of your issue though? Also the story.
uh my issue with Final Fantasy has always been the way Final Fantasy VII's story is delivered, so incredibly slowly, and also just because it's just so damn long, and it feels like a product of its time. You know what I mean? It definitely feels like a product of its time. Going through and experiencing the remake and those story elements redone in like this big 3D world and everything has made it a lot more enjoyable. Even though I have done it before, I didn't really do this in a way that was like enjoyable to me because of the combat, because of this, that, and the other. And going through and like I've been doing like all the side quests and everything, even like I've done the entire Coliseum even for this playthrough. So experiencing all of that, I really do think this game is excellent. Like, absolutely fantastic. I have completely turned around from the way I felt that this was just kind of like, whatever. I like this so much more now. Because of the way it's delivered. I do have issues with the whole, like, the glimpses of changing things up and making things really interesting to, like, shake up the general idea of this game in the remake. I have issues with the way that is presented. Like, I definitely have issues with the way that's presented, because it just kind of feels like you're being shoehorned into having to go the correct path for the game, essentially, with some of the ways it's done. But going the correct path and playing through the entirety of the game and knowing how to play with the combat now correctly, I have realized that just seeing those areas in this huge 3D space and seeing those characters and seeing those moments play out in the modern game has really showed me just how good and how well written this is in general. Like the original game, obviously. Not like so much so the extra stuff that's added to this one. And it's just been a blast to play through. I've had so much fun playing through. I plan on playing Crisis Core, which I already have, like all the way through after this, as like a sort of, Final Fantasy kick, that sort of deal. And then I'll plan on playing Part 2 when it releases later this year. So.
Yeah, I was planning on picking up Crisis Core one of these days after you spoke so well of it during Game of the Year. It always was a game that I've heard was good on the what was it PSP? Was it a PSP
Yeah,
game?
PSP. And
Yeah.
honestly, this translates so well, like from that. Like, yeah, it's kind of like bite size now, like broken
Hmm.
up, which is why I actually think this would be a great game to play on Switch.
Hmm.
Um, I actually installed it and have it on my Steam Deck,
Oh.
so it feels great playing it on handheld for that one. So,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I'm kind of on a kick right now of Final Fantasy. My current plans are to play through, finish this, finish its DLC, which I never finished or even
Hmm.
really gave a shot. After that, I will play Crisis Core, and then after that, I really, really, really want to go all the way through, DLC included, Stranger of Paradise. Because I feel like Stranger of Paradise is still such a great fucking game.
Hmm.
Again, that one's actually quite long, and I have not finished that one either. And I definitely haven't played or even touched any of the DLC of that one. But it is so bonkers that it feels like a platinum game, like an early day platinum game, like
Hmm.
Metal Gear Solid Revengeance or the original Bayonetta. It feels like something like that, where it's just over the top and fucking stupid, but so much fun. So, for that reason, I'm gonna probably go through those three games. And basically right now, my friend's just like, you need to finish the games you purchase. So if it means I have to watch you actually play them and we can like discuss them, I would like to do that. I was like, all right, fine, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, sure. It's nice to see you finish games from time to
Mm-hmm.
time.
So yeah, I don't think I have anything else here. No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's on
good.
your list.
That
Okay.
is all of my list.
So, for what I've been playing, so I finished the new content, the season pass content for Fire Emblem Engage
Mm-hmm.
since last week. Let me tell you, I was actually surprised. So
Okay.
Xenologue, which is kind of like that extra story thing that they talked about, or
Mm-hmm.
well, that they added to in the season pass, and we talked about it last week. So I just started it. It's kind of like a you get sucked into like an alternate universe
Mm-hmm.
of like this world where events had gone differently previously 1,000 years prior, and you're kind of just restarting where things are, and the world's different and everything. Let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
the difference in storytelling between this and the main game is astronomical. It's I was shocked how much I was enjoyed the story and was pulled into it and enjoyed the characterizations of the
Wow.
characters that they had there. I was like, why could the rest of this game not be like this? Um, I was like, it was riveting. It was only 6 chapters, and it was probably the best 6 chapters of this entire game. I could not stop playing it. I was surprised. They did some interesting stuff with like the maps and stuff too, because we always talked about it. The gameplay for this was always solid, so that was never an issue. But they tried some new things with it, and I think it went pretty well.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed it. I was absolutely shocked. So yeah, no, good job with the Xenologue, because like I said, it actually made it like pretty riveting. It had a couple twists that were incredibly shocking, I would say. Like it actually had like some really good story moments. Like it had like a nice little arc to it that you know couldn't see there. It did have like an ending that, while the ending was good, I will
Mm-hmm.
say, like I enjoyed it, but it did kind of have one of those like, is this really how it would have ended for like any normal person? Kind of. They do that kind of like piecemeal, like kind of happy. They squeeze a happy-ish ending into something that maybe shouldn't have been, but I still think like it was. I really like what they did with it. I was just like shocked at how good it was, because it was like pretty good, and they did some. I don't know, because I really don't want to spoil it for people that want to try it, obviously. But because they're doing this alternate universe thing, you get to see characters from like different angles that you necessarily wouldn't have seen them from before. And I said, just kind of the way it plays out, and some of the content it adds, and some of the story elements it adds, kind of fits well with like some of the existing stuff that's already in the main game, even though it's more like a side story, but it just kind of adds some closure that you didn't know you wanted. and I liked it. I thought it, like I said, I thought it was really good. So
Mm-hmm.
the one warning I saw on Reddit was just to make sure if you play it,
Mm-hmm.
just play through it later, not necessarily at the end of the game, but just kind of more back half of the game, because it does have one kind of, so the issue, well, not really an issue. So the
Mm-hmm.
game will ramp its difficulty based on the level of your characters.
Okay.
And you obtain characters at the end of this that are pretty high leveled.
Okay.
And they do not scale to your level. So if you,
Mm.
even though the chapters that you're playing in the Xenologue, from what it sounds like, do scale to, actually, no. So how do I put this? So the way that the chapters work is interesting. So you pick a difficulty at the beginning, at the outset, and all the characters in there and their weapons and their skills are all predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
You don't gain experience during this side story.
Okay.
As you progress, your characters will get new abilities and new weapons, and like classes, and they'll like upgrade as they go on. But it's not necessarily like, you could go in there with nothing, and you go in there at the beginning of the game and still just kind of have good stats, because it's just based on like what's already built into the game. But then if you do it at like the first chapter, well, I think the earliest you can do it's chapter 6, I want to say. Then you're going to end up with characters who are like very high leveled, and your characters are still very low leveled, and you're going to have difficulty getting experience and leveling up the characters that you are obtaining as part of the story. So do it later if you're going to do it. So I guess that's my advice. But but that was one thing I thought was interesting. Like, I like the fact that this was a side story and you didn't have to worry about leveling up the characters. They all kind of like pre-built and pre-leveled, and had adequate weapons for what they needed. So that was kind of a nice twist. And the game actually even encourages you too on the last chapter, which is kind of a doozy one. It basically is like, remember, if you lose characters in this battle,
Mm-hmm.
they will come back. Like, it's default, like casual mode, basically. Like, they're like, don't worry about losing characters.
Okay.
Like, be willing to sacrifice them so that you can progress through this. And I thought that was interesting on its own. Like, it's just kind of like, I let one character go because I'm like, well, there's no fucking way we're going to save you. And you're kind of not appropriate for this level anyway. So goodbye. And yeah, so it just kind of was like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, no, it just played out so well. It was so interesting. I was just, like I said, just so satisfied with the way it was played out and the way it was written. It was really good. Really interesting. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's my glowing review for the for the Fire Emblem Engage Season Pass. I liked all the extra content in it. The extra
That's
content
great.
in that entire game is better than the main game.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so which is good, because I was worried about buying that season pass and being like, well, I don't really love this game, but I'm going to buy all this extra content for it, and hopefully, like, I can get you my money's worth out of it. And I would say I did. I said I enjoyed it, and that the extra content alone, I think, would be something I would look forward to if I was going to play it again.
Okay.
So yeah, that is that. I don't think I have anything terribly exciting otherwise to talk about. I'm still kind of finishing up Fire Emblem Engage. I made a little bit of progress. Like, I went to the next couple chapters after,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, ugh. I'm like, why is it back to this shitty ass writing again?
Why am I in the shit game now?
Yeah, it's just like, it's so, like, it's almost jarring because it's so different. Because I mean, we talked about it, how it's like, the main game, like, the characters don't take anything seriously.
No.
And that was what was so surprising in the Xenologue, because everything was so serious. Like, the story's far-fetched, of course, but like, they took it seriously. And the main game is just like, oh, lol, I'm a dragon. Like, I don't know. It's just goofy.
Yeah, that sounds kind of shit.
But yeah, so that's it. So anyways, I guess with that said, I'm just looking forward to what's that game coming out this week? We know we've been waiting for Advance Wars.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Nintendo's been showing off trailers for that. Looks pretty solid. Like, not really like it's anything unexpected. Yeah, I'm gonna buy up another one of those vouchers and put one of them into that. I don't know if I'm gonna put the other one into yet. I'm so tempted for Bayonetta, but I feel like it's got to go on sale.
You mean the?
Yeah, the Cereza and the Team
Oh
Enforced
man,
or whatever.
no, don't do it.
It's got such good reviews though. But see, my thing is though, so I kind of want it to be more like a $40 game.
Yeah.
That's kind of
yeah.
I don't really want to voucher it for 50. I kind of want to get it on sale for 40. I think it will drop down to 40. That tends to be like Nintendo's like low end sale price for like their $60 games. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to try to hold out for something like that and use the other voucher for something else, like Pikmin or something. I don't remember what else is coming out this summer that I haven't already pre-ordered. Because at least the reviews I saw, they were kind of like they said it kind of plays like old school, like top down, like Legend of Zelda. And I was like, oh, you're really singing a sweet song to me. I'm like, I kind of want to. You kind of get me more interested in this than I think I was before. But yeah, no, I'm not there yet. I got a dumb backlog right now, and it's kind of irritating. So not making enough progress on anything. Not Xenoblade, Fire Emblem. Just those maps suck up so much time. You know, like a level takes like an hour, so it's just like I just feel like I'm just trudging through to get to the end.
While we're talking about games, right, that supposedly are really good and are getting really good reviews, have you seen what else is getting incredibly good reviews?
What?
Dead Island 2.
Oh yeah, I did just see that.
Like surprise. That, like wait, that's a huge surprise after being in like development hell for a decade. That's insane.
And also, I think one thing too with Dead Island was an oddity when it came out because like nobody expected anything from it, and it turned into like a sleeper hit.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I mean, people were excited for it for a long time. And you're right. It took I think I worked at GameStop and they announced it. Like it's been a long time since I've been to GameStop. So I'm like, 7 years out from GameStop now? It's been a while. So
yeah, this game's at least been in development for like 10, I think.
I'm pretty sure I saw it like at conference when I worked there.
Let's see if I can find the first ever Dead Island 2 reveal. Dead Island 2 reveal. 8 years ago in 2014.
Yeah, so like just when I was leaving GameStop. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, you ready to move on to news?
Yeah, let's talk about some news.
All right. Speaking of Nintendo reveals this week, they did the final Tears of the Kingdom trailer. Did you watch it?
I did.
I thought it looked great. I'm still excited. I mean, it's more of a story trailer. It didn't really show off much gameplay, like changes, I don't think. But
so I'm like super indifferent to Tears of the Kingdom. Like I'm super indifferent to it. Like every time I see something new for it, I'm just like, that's cool. But and like that's kind of like that's where I am with this game, kind of. We know nothing about this game, which is good. That is good. I'm very happy about that. But then you have to think about it. We know nothing about this game, and that's where the but comes from, essentially. And that in lies my problem. Because you know what? I don't trust Nintendo. There have been far too many times where Nintendo has been like, we've got this new, really cool feature, and it's going to be like a major part of this game. And then the feature sucks, which drags down the whole rest of the game.
But never with Zelda.
Kind of on a 50-50 for this one. I'm kind of on a 50-50 for this one. It could be really good, or it could suck. So
yeah, I don't know. I see what you're saying. They don't usually do it with Zelda, though.
It's not a case of they don't usually do it, or they do usually do it. It's a case of, is Nintendo incompetent right now from two fronts? One, from a gameplay front, which maybe not. Two, from what your system can actually do front. And that's the other one. That's the one that's really worrying me. Because they're hyping this up. They're making this out to be like a huge, expansive world. And I'm just going to say right now, huge, expansive worlds don't run that well on the Nintendo Switch. They don't. And they don't work that well on the Nintendo Switch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And from a technical point of view, looking at everything you can do in this game, how much is this going to bog down the Switch to the point where it like can't do what the game can do? And that could be one of the major issues. And then the other issue, like I said, is from a gameplay perspective. Because let's look at another series, one I will always go back to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at Star Fox Zero real quick.
Oh god, that's a horrible example.
Oh, it's a perfect example. It's a perfect example. You know, some kind of new gameplay tweak that changed up the entirety of the game, and it just makes it a worse game.
Yeah.
So how much are we going to rely on the building of things mechanic? How much is this going to slow down the combat and the gameplay? How much is this going to make this a worse game? And that is where I'm at right now with that sort of thing. Because this new trailer also showed things like, you know, building essentially a thing to fight a thing. And that happened in it. Whereas like these the main little pig things, I can't remember the name of right now. They had like their own mech essentially, and then you had yours that you built out of scraps and shit laying around. And my question is, how much of the game is going to rely on that, and is that going to be good? And that is where I'm at right now.
I don't know. I mean, they could be trying to tap into like the whole like Minecraft kind of thing. Maybe.
Yes, but then are they going to do it correctly?
You
know what I'm saying?
The Zelda team, if it was the Star Fox team, no, it wouldn't. But I would say like, you know, they're the two core franchises, Mario and Zelda. Like, I've not seen them make a misstep on either of those, really. I think the worst misstep that they had between the two of them that I could think of off the top of my head for like a core game was probably New Super Mario Brothers 2 with the coin collecting mechanic. And even then, that wasn't that bad. It was just it's kind of more what you're describing. It was kind of like indifferent. We're like, oh, okay, cool. I can collect 1.5 billion coins. Who fucking cares? And it just didn't really it didn't have the big payoff that they wanted. But I also think that was kind of more, you know, it was a 3DS. It was kind of more their backseat 2D Mario. Because they're also making the Super Mario Brothers Wii U at the same time.
Yeah.
Which was obviously where all the creative mind went to that series. Because that was just a substantially just deeper game.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that front. I'm really not. What I am saying is you got to take that into account, and then you also got to take into account that will the hardware be able to handle it? You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand. I understand that aspect, and
I think it goes both ways. Will it be handled correctly, or will it be like where there are going to be very specific moments where I definitely need to build some stuff? Otherwise, you're not doing it. You have to build stuff. You have to do this. You can't play it any other way than building stuff. And as such, that kind of sidelines you into being forced to work and using that mechanic in many different areas. And I don't know if that's going to happen. But then also, is that mechanic going to work with the Switch hardware, with the ways that people want to use that mechanic? And that's the other thing that
I think that one's kind of hard to gauge, and I agree because you know I would say on one side of it, like out of all the 5 minutes of this game that we've seen over the last 3 years, we've only seen like small snippets of this.
Yes, so and how much of that is being tailor made to not show just how bad the Switch hardware handles it. But that's the other thing.
But on the flip side, though, it also just might mean that it's a feature that's there and it's not really that important either.
And I don't disagree. I do not disagree with you there. I'm worried, and I'm so worried that I'm not pre-ordering this. I'm just gonna wait and see.
I think too. The other thing that Nintendo has in its favor with this, at least on the will it run kind of side of things.
Yes.
So from a base level, as far as we can tell, they're using the world to some degree that was already existing. So it should just be refining what they already had before, which I don't remember. Did you ever go back to Breath of the Wild after they patched it?
I
made
did
it
not.
better.
Oh, I mean, I guess I played some of the DLC, but I never finished it.
Yeah.
So no, I have not.
So it did get like between launch and then when they patched it, it did get a much better performance. I mean, was it like completely spotless? Yeah, no, there was still obviously some lag on it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it probably had to do with the fact that it was, still keeping in mind the Wii U because they still had to be able to support what was there.
Yeah.
But I mean, now that it's free from the shackles of the Wii U, maybe that means it'll be an improvement. I don't know. We're kind of speculating. It did look like there's probably some slowdown even in the stuff that they'd shown off.
I definitely noticed that. So if that's what you're seeing in stuff they've shown off, that brings me back to my next point. What are we not seeing?
Yeah.
And how bad is it going to be? And that really worries me. Because this could be like the best game ever, and it could be stuck on hardware that just can't play the best game ever. And then
my
that
theory is
makes
still
it
that
not the best game ever because it can't be played the way it should be.
my theory is still that it's a $70 game because it's going to have a free HD upgrade or whatever for the whatever Switches, I don't know, overflowing rumor wise to be released by the end of this year or early next year. That's what I think that $70 price tag is for. And I think they're going to be, after this game comes out, maybe, I don't know, I feel like either June or September they'll probably announce whatever the next Switch is. I'm kind of more inclined to think June, personally. I think they're going to milk the Zelda sales, announce the new Switch, say it's backwards compatible, and be like, hey, look how great Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom looks on this new system. And think about upgrading. And then it will be like probably a holiday release. I'm kind of thinking, too, that might be why they kind of hedged their lineup just to July. Not that it's completely unheard of for Nintendo to not announce anything from their back half of the year, but usually there's kind of like, a straw man out. It's kind of a little bit further out than everything else. Like, hey, look what's on the horizon beyond this. Like we had it with Animal Crossing where it was kind of hanging out there for a while. We had it with Splatoon 3 that was kind of hanging out there for a while. We had it just now with Pikmin that had kind of been hanging out there for a while. We had it with Tears of the Kingdom that had been hanging out there for a long while.
Yeah.
So I think now that there's nothing beyond Pikmin, I think that's kind of them shifting gears to be like, okay, let's get out. Let's start shifting development over here, and we'll move the resources where we need to. So I think it's sooner than later. But,
okay.
And I
hope you are right. I really do.
Yeah. No, I think. I mean, that rumor with the Pokemon, we talked about it before too.
Yeah.
Where there was a leaker that announced basically what was at the Pokemon DLC announcement days beforehand, and they were spot on. And the only thing that was not announced there was, hey, HD, like a patch upgrade coming for like the. I keep saying HD. It's already HD, but you know what I mean. Like a spec upgrade.
Let's be honest.
Spec upgrade for Pokemon coming for for the next Switch. So I think that means that says to me it's likely. I mean, if they're already working on it, and yeah, it's a matter of time at this point. Honestly, it's like the safest. If you want to be one of those fake Nintendo leak people, it's like the safest leak to hedge your bets on right now. Be like, oh, my uncle from Nintendo told me that the new Switch is going to be announced soon. Yeah, no shit. Everyone could tell you that. So Shirley down at the gas station could tell you it's coming out soon. So yeah, no, it's coming. Everyone knows it's coming. And I think that's why there's the $7 price tag, because I think they factored that in. But
yeah, maybe.
It just, I mean, we talked about it. What was it last week? That just kind of seems odd. That it's just the single one out.
Yep.
So, like, nothing after it's $70 that's announced. And then there's just this random thing. Yeah.
They could obviously do the same thing they did with Zelda and just change it. Yep. Change the price tag,
I thought it was interesting, though. I think we talked about this last week. I can't remember. On the voucher page, like, they actually sell it as, like, hey, like, the vouchers are such a great deal because you can get Zelda for basically $20 off. And it's like, oh. It basically is like screaming, use your voucher to buy Zelda. So, yeah. Anyways, I think it's really all we need to say about Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it's coming out.
I think we should just move on from that one.
Yeah. 3 weeks, we'll be talking about it on end for months, probably, or at least I will. I'm sure. So,
I'll see
anyways,
how I feel about it.
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I'll buy it.
Maybe you will buy it. Maybe you won't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
It's the future.
True.
In other news, Sega acquires Rovio for $1 billion.
It's a ridiculous amount.
I know, and just saying it like that just sounds like it's like a comical news story, but it is true. So, I don't know. I guess I forgot about Angry Birds. I'm sure it's still popular.
Is it? I haven't heard, seen, or anything of Angry Birds.
I have not heard of it in a long time, but apparently there's somewhere that Sega seems to think it's worth $1 billion, but I don't know. It's also Sega hedges their bets on weird things from time to time.
Yeah, they're not exactly the smartest sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like Angry Birds kind of could fit in well. I could see an Angry Birds and Sonic crossover.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of
They
goes
bought it
well
just
with
to do it with the movie, in the third Sonic movie. They bought it just to put Angry Birds in the third Sonic movie.
Could be. It could be those little things that come out of the capsules when Sonic jumps on them at the end of the levels. You know.
Oh my god, that would be genius.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That's actually smart.
That's what I envisioned in my head when they announced this. Just kind of those things popping out.
That's so smart.
Even better if they launched out and we're like all angry. Yeah, but I mean, I could see something like that. I also could imagine too, like Angry Birds with like Sonic, and you're like launching Sonic around to like break shit like you would with Angry Birds. So I don't know. Maybe that's what they were thinking. They were like, "Oh, that's $1 billion idea.
That's $1 billion idea. Let's do it immediately."
Yeah. So
that's just insane.
Yeah. Best of luck, Sega. I do think though, like kind of what we were just saying. I guess if there's really anyone that could leverage it, you know, Sega probably has a good base for it. I guess. And I don't know. Does Sega really do anything on like mobile? I'm sure they do.
They have that Sonic Runner game, don't they? I don't know.
I don't know.
I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Anyways, that's all the news that I had down. We'll talk about yours.
All right. So Redfall was announced to be launching on Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S at 30 FPS. They're capping the Xbox Series X version even at 30 FPS at launch.
Did they have a reason for it?
Nope. Just said it's going to be 30 FPS, 4K at launch, and the 1440p 30 FPS on the Series S at launch. And a performance mode will come at a later date. It really reeks of we didn't have time and we just don't care. And that gives me a really bad feeling about the game in general because of that. And I'm not happy about it. I feel like a game similar to Left 4 Dead, which is essentially what Redfall is, something like that needs 60 FPS. Especially a first-person shooter with, it needs 60 FPS. It's not acceptable in modern times to go back to 30. It's just not acceptable. That's how I feel in general. I don't know. It's a step backwards, and it's a big step backwards to the point where it's like, yeah, what's the fucking point? And that's just kind of how I feel at the end of the day. So, yeah, not very happy about that one, like at all. Like at all.
I mean, my guess is probably like they have it so it's a really sound. I don't know. This is me being an optimist, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe they just have it so it's a really solid 30 frames a second, and they just want to work on like the graphical stuff later because they know they already have a really solid game. That's me being an optimist.
That's being super optimistic. I don't know if that's the case, and I'm kind of like, worried about that now. Speaking, this is what they should have done, which we're going to move on to another story. Suicide Squad got delayed. Did you hear about this?
I did. It didn't sound like though they were kind of like it was how do I put this? The way that the news phrased it from the company was basically it made it sound like they were just delaying it, but they weren't really going to change anything.
Oh, that is not the case. Do you know how long this delay is?
This says sometime next year, like what, middle of next
February
year?
February 2nd, 2024.
Yeah.
So a year out from what the release date was going to be initially, I think. And when you look at it, supposedly it has not been officially confirmed, but they're taking out the always online requirement.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
So if that is the case, good. If that isn't the case, why the fuck are you delaying this a year?
I don't know, but I mean, I do think that the always online, requirement's a smart move.
It's kind of the only move because they literally tanked their sales when they announced that.
I mean,
They lost all sales when they did that. They got negative sales when they did that.
I mean, people just think so lovingly of always online games. Like, remember when SimCity did it?
Oh yeah.
EA just hit the bottom of the barrel with that, and then they went back and tried to patch it out. And I don't think they ever truly recovered from that.
I think they did. I think they removed it, but no one cared anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I heard the game was much better, but
yeah,
they just never really. I think people were they lost interest.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see. February is coming soon.
Of next year.
Next year. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's really the only other thing I have to talk about. I did want to ask you a question though, specifically. Sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can help me out. So I'm wanting to play some older titles, just like weirder older titles, like those kind of games that you like don't think of that much, but like someone is definitely like, yeah, this game's really good. Okay. But it's not like one of the big main, like major titles that everyone knows about. I want your help weekly finding some. Just give me like 3 games, pitch them to me. It can be from like PS2, GameCube, that sort of thing. I'm looking specifically for like PS2, GameCube, Super Nintendo, or like Dreamcast, if you're even willing to go that far or whatever. I'm looking for games from that kind of era that are like more like not as well known. So you got 3 for this week. What are they?
Oh man,
I'm gonna do this every week too.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and let you know what this is. This is building up my library on my Steam Deck for of past like games, ones I haven't heard of or ones that I haven't thought of in a long time that would be interesting to play. Because I feel like current games that are releasing are pretty poo-poo stinky garbage, and I really want to go back and play some older games and check them out.
Well, let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna think of some of my favorite, just random things. Cubivore, if you ever played it.
I've never played Cubivore. Ever.
Totally random.
Because it's so incredibly expensive.
Stupid expensive. It's like it's I think it's my most expensive game.
You actually own Cubivore?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Every time we get into that thing where we like look at that website to see the prices of the games, it always comes up because I'm always like, oh, here's my most expensive game.
You have it Cubivore. Like in package and everything?
I have it. It's open, but it's complete.
Complete.
So I got the manual, and I'm the only owner of it. I bought it brand new when it was sealed.
Okay, all right. What is the last price that you remember it being at when you checked?
It was between $400 and $500, I believe.
Okay, all right. I'm here to tell you that we are at last sold was $515.
Oh, right so it's still going up. Yeah, creeping right up. Yeah, I love that game.
Never played this game. This is an Atlas game, and this is one of the Atlas games I've never ever played.
It's a Nintendo game. It's Atlas published in the US.
Sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay. I'm just clarifying because it is like it's one of those really odd like Nintendo games.
So here's the thing. You see how we have like our bold predictions? Underneath it is where I'm going to put some game titles for the list that you're going to be giving me. So that's one.
All right.
Actually, pitch it to me. Like, what is this? I've always seen this. I've always seen it talked about. What is this?
So you're kind of like these little cube animals. I mean, cube is loosely like you're based out of like I don't know. Probably you're just kind of like cube shaped, I guess.
Okay.
Just animal, and you have to go around and become the king of the cubivores. I think was what it was called. And basically, you go around and you like rip these other cube animals to shreds.
Okay.
And then you tear off their pieces and wear them on your body, and you kind of like evolve into like different like shapes. Like I think they had different like qualities depending on like what colors they were. And you kind of have to get like color matches to kind of turn into like certain things. And the Z button's your poop button. I remember that. You poop out like the colors that you don't need.
Okay.
And yeah, then you kind of turn into like you kind of got to get to like a certain form, and it had like a bunch of different stages that you played through. But you kind of keep a log of like the different types of cubivores you turn into, and if you get all the shapes, then you turn into the emperor of the cubivores.
Okay.
It's very like just out there. It's kind of one of those ones. If it was released today,
this looks super experimental.
yes, very experimental. Kind of like if it was today, it'd be like the most indie of indie games. Yeah, it's wild. Is it like a mind blowing experience? You're gonna like transcend gaming? Probably no, but I think you'll find something out of it's like interesting, and you'll get like at least a couple hours of fun out of it. I think.
All right.
I like that one. Did you ever play Chibi Robo?
I've never played Chibi Robo either.
Chibi Robo on GameCube, excellent. So that one you play as like a little. I mean, you know the concept of Chibi Robo. I think basically you're kind of like a little robot that's kind of like a helper robot that lives in the house, and you go around and you help people out with like different things in the house because everyone has issues. Like the people that live in the house have issues. The toys that live in the house have issues, and as you help them, you get like rewarded with, I don't know, some sort of happiness currency. And as you get more happiness currency, you get better batteries, so you can do more things and go further around the house to like explore. It kind of has like a Metroid kind of like aspect to it because like as you can go more places and do more things, you can like experience new areas and help people in different ways. So and it has kind of like a surprising like story to it. Like it's not just kind of like at bare bones you kind of would think it's like, oh, you know, like more of like a life simulator, but it actually has kind of like a pretty deep story that connects like all the characters through along with you as the Chibi Robo. Like the family you're living with has some like marital issues, it sounds like, and you're kind of just helping them like rebuild like their lives together. And yeah, no, that's like a true gem for the GameCube for sure.
I'm gonna play these at least a little bit, like at least an hour of each one of these games you're telling me about, and give you my thoughts on them next week. That's kind of my plan. A little extra like thing. I think it might be interesting.
Yeah, I like this idea. I'll just over the next week. I'll just start thinking of more things. And then what about? Did you ever play Beyond Good and Evil?
I have played Beyond Good and Evil, but it's been like years.
All right. Well, let me think of a different title then, if you've already played it. I know you played that one. It's tricky too because I don't have my games in front of me, so I'm like thinking about them off the top of my head. Did you play Bait and Kato's Origins?
I have, but it's not like something I finished because it was like a Blockbuster rental, if I recall correctly.
Oh, okay. And you played the original too?
I played. Was Origins the sequel?
Yeah.
So I remember renting both of them. I remember them at the time not being something I super liked. But I'm actually kind of waiting for the remake for that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What other one? I need to look at. Hold on. I need Wikipedia.
Okay.
Let's see.
Obviously, I know everyone you've told me so far has been GameCube, but it doesn't have to. Like, you can do PSX or PlayStation 2 or anything like that. Anything's fine.
I know. I'm sticking to GameCube now because that's what I'm most familiar with for that time frame. Oh, what about Battalion Wars?
That's the spin-off of Advanced Wars, right?
Yeah. It's kind of more like real-time strategy Advanced Wars.
I don't know if I ever played this one. Let me look this one up real quick.
Okay.
Let's just look at like a little bit of gameplay here. Nope, I have not played this one.
Okay. Yeah, that would be my other recommendation this week then.
All right then.
So, yeah, so it's real-time strategy.
Why is that one so big?
Advanced Wars. Well, so I don't know. It's Advanced Wars is weird because it's not really like. It's more like the series is kind of just more like wars, I guess. I don't even know what to call it because there's like Famicom Wars, and then there was like Advanced Wars, and then there was Battalion Wars. So So Battalion Wars was a spinoff that was kind of, same kind of idea. You have those like, just an assortment of military units. And in this game, instead of it being turn-based strategy, it's real-time strategy. You
Okay.
can you could take them in the battle. You can control the different units, and you can take some of them with you, kind of like Pikmin style, and you go around and like attack things. Obviously, to be careful of like, just like in Advanced Wars, certain weapons or certain types of units are better at fighting other types of units. So it's like, hey, you don't really want to bring your like anti-air units into an area where it's all tanks because they're going to get run over and destroyed. So, just kind of making sure you're taking the right teams. If I remember, it does have like a thing where you can like split your teams up and then send them like to different areas to do things. It also still has like the wildly like cartoonish like different nations and stuff. So that's really interesting. I remember like the kind of the villain nation kind of has like a little twist in there in terms of like what they are doing. And I thought that was interesting. I thought Battalion Wars was great. It does have kind of like a pretty big not learning curve, like a kind of like steep curve near the end where it got a little bit more difficult than I expected it to, but it's manageable. And if you're only playing an hour, you're not going to get there anyways. So at least it'll give you enough to kind of like see and kind of figure out what it is. I also say too, if you do like it, I think it's a good game. It's a lot of fun, and the sequel on the Wii was actually even better and added a lot of new things. So, just kind
which one would you say play? The original GameCube or the Wii one?
If you're just going to play like an hour or two, start with the GameCube one. Gives you a good basis.
All right.
I think they're both good enough. I just think that like I said, I think the Wii, they kind of like that sequel thing where it's like the sequel builds on the original in every meaningful way. So, see what you like there. If you hit a wall, maybe think about doing the Wii one, but at least for now, do the GameCube one.
All right,
I think it's a good starting basis. Yeah. So there's my 3 recommendations. It's tricky because I know some of the obvious things that I would recommend. Like I know you've already played, so I was like Killer 7. I was like, oh no, we can't.
Yeah, I actually rebought that on Steam. I have.
Did you?
Yeah,
I forgot that they released it.
I have the official like remaster, which it's just an up-res and that sort of thing. On my Steam account, so that's actually already Steam Deck verified, so I don't even have to like emulate that one. So
nice. Yeah.
And it runs very, very well, and it's a lot of fun to play. I did recently go back and play some of that. Not the whole thing, but I played like 4 or 5 hours, probably last year towards the end of the year, because I was able to get it like on sale pretty decently. So that's what I ended up doing. Good. Lots of fun.
I think they did threaten to re-release it on Switch at one point. I'm waiting for Suda to actually like follow through with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm already looking through things on this list. I'm already finding some other interesting things. So, yeah, I think we'll have some interesting things to talk about.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I thought this might be a neat little thing to do, and plus it gives me more games to add to my Steam Deck because my Steam Deck, to be completely honest, aside from playing like whatever I'm currently playing, it's also just like a massive machine for emulation. It has. Everything I've thrown at it has been totally fine, including Switch games. So, like, that sort of thing. When you take that into account, I'm like, okay, well, I need to, like, get more games added on here that I have never played before in the past. So,
yeah. Makes sense. I did have one other random piece of news, I guess, before we wrap up. The next Splatfest was announced. The only reason I think this is newsworthy is because it's Legend of Zelda themed.
Okay.
But B, the tricolor map like battle that they do, it's going to be like Triforce shaped.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that was cool. I was like, oh, it's interesting that they're able to incorporate things like that into the game. So it's coming up soon. I can't remember what it is. Sometime between now and when Tears of the Kingdom's released. But I just remembered that when we were looking at things. So
when you find out when it is, let me know because I have so many things installed on my Switch now because I got myself a new SD card.
Oh, nice. What size did you get?
It's 256, but it was on sale for like $11. So
yeah, they've been doing some nice sales on them lately. So
yep, that's the one. That's the one I'm getting.
Yeah. All right.
Now that I know I only had a 128 before for my Steam Deck, I wish I would have bought a second 256 before the sale ended, so that I could have more games on my Steam Deck.
Oh yeah. No, I don't blame you there. You definitely want a big card for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a terabyte in my Switch, and I kind of still feel like I was constantly afraid I'm going to run out of space. I'm not that close yet.
So there is a. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. There's a Samsung one that I saw the other day on Amazon. Let me see. Amazon. I saw a really good price on this Samsung one. I have it on my watch list, I think. No, my wish list, not watch list. That's for my TV shows, dumbass. Yeah. So there is a Samsung. Yeah, see, like even their 512 is $52 right now for the Samsung one that I want to get. So I'm having to like wait for a sale to come back up. So it looks like the sales are ended. But yeah, there was a really good sale. There's a 256 for $22.99 now. So it's like, yeah, I don't really want to go like that heavy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But these Samsung ones are actually really good. So I'll probably grab one of these in the future when they go on sale again.
Yeah.
Samsung 512 Pro Plus micro SD. Very good SD cards. They're like the ones that are recommended for the Steam Deck. So if you ever get a Steam Deck, then look into those micro SD cards.
I was just cleaning up my office the other day, and I found so many random SD cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I just found, what was it? It was a big one. I think it was a 400 something. It was just randomly in the bottom of a bag, because DJ will periodically like clean out drawers and move them around and not really consider some of the things that are in there.
Yeah.
Because I never would have like just put that into a much larger bag, because you never find it again. But surprisingly, I did find it again when I wasn't looking for it, and I'm like, oh, I need to make sure this doesn't get lost again, because I'll never find it. Yeah. So I should be, I guess, in that sense, I should be okay if I find a Steam Deck.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think so. They actually did something recently, like a month ago, because it was the 2-year anniversary, 1-year anniversary, something like that. I don't remember which one it was. Anyway, and they actually put the Steam Deck on sale.
Oh, nice.
So, like, that's like unheard of. Oh, I also watched the State of Play for Final Fantasy 16. Holy shit, that looks so good.
Does it?
I don't really have much to say. It's just like, you want to play a game that looks like Bayonetta, but isn't Bayonetta? Yeah, there you go. You want to play a game that looks like Devil May Cry, but isn't Devil May Cry? Yeah, there you go. Final Fantasy 16 looks so much like that. And like the battles between the like different summons and stuff, when you're able to like play as them, they're absolutely insane. I am so looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm sure it'll be good. It sounds like
it sounds
like it's the most thoughtful Final Fantasy they put out in a while.
It comes out next month, I believe.
Yeah.
Or it might be June. Yeah, it's June. It comes out in June.
So. Yeah, soon. Yeah, that's surprisingly soon. So, otherwise, ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us today. Don't forget to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check out our website, game-crunch.com, where you can download all our latest episodes. If you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, or you can send us an email at gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon.
Hey.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. And then, that said, my name is Mike Anastasia. Find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin on Twitter, your favorite gaming console. Until next week, game on.
Game on. I personally don't think he deserved the massive punishment he got. Just like I don't think the guy who went to prison, the modder guy, I don't know if you just saw this guy. The guy who
That was
You
an
did?
unfair punishment. I agree.
That's insane.
He's never
That's
going to be able to
insane.
pay off $10 million.
Oh no, you know what they're doing, right?
Garnishing his wages?
They're taking 25 to 50% of everything he makes from everything for the rest of his life.
Yeah, no, that's insane. That's an insane punishment.
After already being in prison for 40 months.
Yeah, just you basically should have. If you wanted, if you really just take the money that he had made from profit
300,000.
yeah, and let him do his time. I think
He's
that
already
would have
done
been
his
more
time.
than reasonable.
I mean, it's like,
yeah. No, he just got out today. I'm just saying, I'm just saying in general, just let him do his time. Take the money that he earned from pirating, and just God bless, Godspeed. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
And even that, I think, is maybe even too harsh. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I think garnishing his wages for basically, unless he becomes like Elon Musk, he's gonna be fucked for the rest of his life. That's just kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so there's that.
They made it where he essentially cannot get back to a normal life ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. The other guy, though, the YouTube guy.
Actually, interesting enough, now that I think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've given him every reason to go even harder with piracy. They've given him every reason. If he's just going to lose every fun for the rest of his life and not be able to get on his own two legs ever again, might as well go back to prison. Might as well make a shit ton of money off the books. Give to people that's more important, and then fucking go about your daily life in jail once Nintendo catches you again.
Go Breaking Bad. I think that's not a bad idea. Really. Hey, do you want some of that blue 3DS games? I gotcha. Some of the blue Pokemons. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that either. Really, at that point,